Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Flip the Script with Vic podcast. It's your host, Victoria Nielsen. I am so excited to be back with another amazing woman today. Michelle Saya has been my behind the scenes astrologer of my life. I feel like the puppeteer mastermind for years now because of her amazing astrology knowledge. But also, she is a Cancer moon like I am. And we met when I was really early on in my spiritual awakening and spiritual journey. And that program that we were a part of together was really just such a turning point for me. And I've really valued your insight and your friendship. So, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for having me. I'm super honored to be here today. And just a loving little revision. I would love to be a Cancer moon, but unfortunately, I'm a Scorpio moon, which is in its
Scorpio
fall.
moon. And what are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have your Mars in Cancer.
Yes, I have
Okay, I
my
was like,
Mars
we
in
have a Cancer
Cancer.
something. Mars in Cancer. That's
Yeah,
what it
but
was.
Scorpio moons and Cancer moons get along very well. They mesh very well. So.
Good. I'm glad. I was right somewhere. See, this is why you got to keep me straight. I always tell
All
everyone
good.
like I know enough about astrology to be dangerous, but like not enough to really guide anyone. So it's really nice to have someone that actually knows on. So bring us back to the beginning. Like what got you into astrology?
Oh gosh, what a big question. Growing up, I've always been kind of like a closeted, loving to love looking at astrology and also kind of like weary of it, to be completely honest with you, just because of the environment that I was raised in. My dad was raised and practiced like Christianity and Buddhism, and then my mom's side of family was strictly Buddhist. And anything tarot, occult, astrology was completely like hands off. It's like a big no-no in the family. So it was something that I've always kind of kept hidden close to my heart and chest. And like true to being a Gemini rising, I know how to kind of chameleon myself to adapt. Because growing up, I also struggled with a lot of like childhood bullying. So I was already like the weird introverted kid, and the last thing that I needed was to be bullied more severely for liking astrology. So I kind of kept hidden until it was like the right time to just everything works in divine timing, where you kind of come out of the closet. But yeah, my road to to being an evolutionary astrologer has been very like windy. My career background, I actually started out doing fashion design in New York City.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I went to Parsons in New York. That's where I studied fashion design, and I focused specifically on menswear.
I
And
could see it though. I could see you like designing such
Mhm.
a gorgeous suit.
Thank you, thank you. And I actually felt quite fulfilled in that area of work. Like I loved the craftsmanship, the thoughtfulness of like making clothes functional and like rethinking how people dressed in like certain professions, such as, for example, chefs in restaurants. Their like uniforms. Is there any way to improve upon their clothing with more functionality to improve like the process of like cooking? So that was like also my menswear thesis, and all of that was like great. So I actually enjoyed learning about fashion design and just improving my construction sewing skills, design skills. However, it's once you get into the industry of fashion, that's when things go awry, just like everything else in life, right? And I find that brings really true to also like the generational themes that we are experiencing on an astrological level, because we did have Pluto in Capricorn teaching us about the systems that are in place that can oppress us. And now that Pluto is in Aquarius, it's the breaking down of that, it's exposing of that. And so, but back then I was still under like Pluto and Capricorn. So it was like the oppressive system. So even though you love the craftsmanship, the system might not be supportive, the industry might not be supportive. There could be glass ceilings placed upon you. So it was very much that stereotypical Devil Wears Prada type oppression in the workplace, the unpaid intern having to make sure that the coffee shade match exactly that Pantone color number that your boss expects of you, or else you get fired or like yelled at. So that was my life um, in fashion school, post fashion school. And I'm very highly sensitive. I've always been very highly sensitive. And the way I coped with that was like I was really dependent on alcohol. So I struggled with like alcohol dependency. And um, I was very much in also in a very dark place. So there was this like creative fire that was always within me and the urge and the longing to create, but also the oppressive systems that really can be very challenging for someone like me. And so
Yeah.
I coped with it in many different ways that at the time, looking back, I have a lot of compassion for like college stage Michelle, but looking back, I'm like, that was very destructive. There was a lot of self-sabotage there.
I feel like such a resonance with this story right now because that was me. I like the same. I got my dream job out of college at the Food Network. I worked at their magazine in New York City. I was in it. And the magazine industry, thankfully, I never had any bosses that were like what you're describing, but I know that happened in the magazine industry too. And I also went down a very destructive path and was using alcohol and drugs and
Mhm.
all these things to numb myself even though I was enjoying the work. I was enjoying like the craft of creating food and of,
Wow.
writing and all of that. But the system, like I had an aha go off in my head because it really was the system that I didn't like and the system that broke me
Hmm.
and made me run for the hills. And I'm glad that it did, right? Because I wouldn't be here otherwise. But um, wow, we all have those creative yearnings from a young age. And whether or not they blossom really depends on the system that we were nurtured in.
Exactly, exactly. And kind of fast forward to today, a lot of clients come to me for astrology readings and like business readings because they finally are done with the system. Like they have, they're no longer tolerating it, which is actually quite beautiful, but can be very destabilizing in the moment and both on an individual and collective level. But yes, 100% I agree with you on that. And so eventually I did leave the fashion industry because it was becoming so destructive that I was just severely depressed. And I changed industries and I actually worked in higher education for a bit. And I worked at a university. I did like crisis communications, PR with that. Very true to my like, again, Gemini rising.
Again, I was like, that's what we have in common was the Gemini rising, because the same, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I could do this. I could morph and do this, even if your nervous system is like, actually, I don't love this.
Exactly. I feel like on a subconscious level, again, this is a lot of like upbringing, which is why working with like mother wounds, father wounds is such a key component to unlearning all of this. I'd say, especially for me. But back then, I was very unconscious, and my parents, they're in Chinese culture, there's a saying called you need a safe face. Do not embarrass your parents, do not embarrass your family. Because the parents, they talk about their kids. They always compare us. It's very competitive in Asian culture, which I find to be incredibly harmful. Um, and so I was like, okay, well, back then I was already like, you know what, screw it. Like I do want to come out of the spiritual closet and like explore tarot, explore astrology, spirituality, because I find that so fascinating. However, I was still in that kind of like chokehold of following social norms, family
Good girls don't
obligations.
do that.
Exactly. Good girls don't do that. Or like, this is demonic, or you're going to hell. Like, I had high school friends send me letters from California to New York. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet. Like, I miss them too. And I opened the letter, and they would literally write, like, you should go to church because, like, you can be saved. I'm like, I thought you were gonna write something like, "How's Parsons? How's
Right,
fashion
like I miss
school?"
you, like, you
Yeah,
know?
like a normal letter, not
Yeah.
something like, "You should go to church." It's such a weird thing to like write to
No, to like
someone.
shame someone for. And
Exactly.
like
It's so weird. And so all of these like
aggressions.
microaggressions kind of culminated into me being like, okay, well, I'm gonna work in PR because that's not going to send me to hell, you know?
I'm
Um,
helping. I'm helping.
I'm helping in a, I don't want to use the word muggle, but in a like muggle kind of
Do it,
way.
do it. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. And so when I worked at the university, I actually loved working at the university because I get to work with the college students, collaborate with them, work on like social media, which was a lot of fun. And when I worked at that university, like the kids were innovative. Like we had some of like the brightest engineers. They collaborated with like Stanford, Harvard. It was just fantastic. The thing that burnt me out with that was because I worked in crisis communications, there were bomb threats, shootings. Yeah. And it was tough. It got to a point where there was a shooting at the workplace where there were casualties, and we lost a student that I knew, and that broke me. That completely shattered me. And that was when I went through a complete. I crashed out, basically, Victoria.
I mean, I can't even
I
imagine
crashed
that.
out.
Like it,
Yeah.
I can't. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so I crashed out, ego death. I quit my job shortly thereafter. I was living in actually New Jersey at the time, so I relocated from New York to New Jersey to do this job for a couple years. When that happened, uh, I quit the job, sold everything I owned. I was also in a relationship at the time where the family was strictly Catholic. And so I went to mass with them and all that. So again, it was me like hiding
Yeah.
behind my like I was hiding my real self and ended that relationship, just ended everything and felt really aimless. I felt like a complete failure at the time. I actually moved back in with my parents. They've been based in California this whole time. So cross country moved back home, lived with my parents, and felt very lost. So also took a Bali trip, took an Eat, Pray, Love trip to Bali.
Was
Uh,
this around your Saturn return, by the way, or was this like before then?
before then,
Okay.
actually, before then, yeah, this all happened when I was about, oh gosh, I can't even, was I around like 20? 1920. Yeah, I have to go back and look at the exact age range because it feels like a
Damn. No,
lifetime
but you
ago.
woke up, I feel like earlier than most. I mean, mine didn't come until I was like 30. So,
And I feel like when it comes to ego deaths, there's like different, one goes through like multiple ego
oh, for
deaths through
sure.
like different milestones.
Never
But yeah,
ending.
that was definitely a major one. Because I can tell you right now, I'm going through an ego death like right now as we're speaking. It's like a second one. I'll get to that later. I'll be very honest.
I'm like, is it
Um,
better? Is it worse? Tell us.
I think I know it's for the better. It has to do with me needing to relocate. I have to, my higher self, my spirit guides have been nagging me all this year. Michelle, it's time to move out of the country. Like, it's time to explore and expand, like, your ancestral, exploration into different cultures and staying in the United States. Like, yeah, it's familiar, but it limits
It's a
you.
safe choice,
It's the safe
but
choice.
it's not your
Exactly.
soul's choice.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's kind of the where the ego death is coming in second time around. But um yeah, I went to Ubud, Bali. And then that's when I had like my first official astrology reading. There's a lot of wonderful spiritual teachers there in Bali. And I it was just like I don't even know the words to describe it. Just mind blown. ego completely crashed out and just went through a complete spiritual awakening. And it was both liberating, it was painful, it was joyful, it was grief, it was everything all at once. And it was a rebirth. And when I um, like left that trip and came back to live with my parents for a bit, that's when I did start my own business. But the business that I started again, like my fear with social approval is very stubborn. It still wasn't spiritual just yet. So like I started a skincare business. I started a doggy product business, and it was the stepping stone I needed to gather enough savings and funds to move out of my parents about a year later and then move back to New York to try again. So my skincare business took off, and within like 6 months, I was able to replace my old income at my old job and then some, and then be able to kind of live in New York and like figure it out as an entrepreneur. I was like, new chapter. Let me do this one more time. No more corporate life.
Like, do
Um,
over. I can
do
do it.
over. Exactly. And I was really excited. I was very happy. My parents were devastated, super angry with me. They're like, you just left New York, like the East Coast, and you're going back there? I was like, yes, 100%. I can only imagine having like a Gemini rising child, Sagittarius sun child must not be easy on my conservative parents.
Yeah, you being a Sag for sure, no.
It is
And then you
not,
add in the Gemini, and it's like,
it's very chaotic. Yeah. So I have a lot of compassion for them. But yeah, and I was like getting tired of my mom like throwing my tarot cards away. So I was like, I need to move out. Yeah.
I need my own space. Like,
Yeah, I would
you,
like secretly go to Barnes and Nobles and like buy tarot cards and like hide it under my clothing drawer, under my socks, and my mom would rummage through and find it. Like she's a Virgo and nothing escapes her. So nothing escapes her.
do you now
So
that you like know your chart, obviously, like, does it? Because I love that, some people are like, it's written in the stars, and it is, but and we have free will. But man, there are some themes that are going to come up. There are some things that are going to happen. Like, you feel like it's all been written, right? Now that you actually know your astrology, or was there anything that really surprised you after you came to know like your astrological star self?
I feel like more than anything, it made me feel less alone. It felt
Mm.
like a hug from the universe. It felt affirming
Yes.
because I felt very isolated. I felt so gaslit by the people around me, like, you should do this, Michelle, you should do that. Or like, you're not a good girl if you do this, but you would be a good girl if you did that. And everything in my chart affirmed what I've always felt inside, but kind of pushed down underneath to kind of protect myself. And I always see astrology as this like beautiful dance between here are like timelines that you can take where you can
Hmm.
really experience life. Because depending on people's spiritual beliefs, like I do believe that before we come to Earth, um, come into the world, we make soul agreements. So we do have a level of free will where before we even exist in our human bodies, we do make soul agreements like I would like to learn this and I would like to learn that. And then once you enter Earth and you grow up and you move through the world, you again still have free will. Like even though your chart shows you like, hey, here's a roadmap that you agreed to learn, you can learn it at a certain level of scope and scale. Maybe you do it slower, maybe you do it faster, maybe you need to take some detours. But I feel like what we call God, consciousness, a universe, this one like united thing, it will never abandon you. It's always within you. So if you need to slow down, you slow down. Um, there is that Sagittarius optimism in me that we can co-collaborate with the universe. Things are not completely fixed, where you feel like you have no control over your life. So it's co-creating with life, co-creating with our charts. Yeah.
And it really is because I feel like knowing, like we were talking before we hit record about this amazing yearly transit reading that Michelle does. And it changed my life this year because it helped me just navigate the themes a little bit better. Or maybe know, hey, this month is going to feel like this. So, like, let's prepare. Or it was so affirming that I was already intuitively doing the thing, and it was like, oh, I was kind of already planning that. Like now this feels really nice. And even, you were the one that taught me a lot of fortune and looking up like when is the best time to be launching things and getting your word out. And it makes so much sense to me now with your fashion background, knowing that like that you do the branding and the midheaven and the colors. Like Michelle was the very first one that taught me that you could use astrology in your branding. And it blew my mind. And
Yeah.
it made the first website I ever had like finally feel like me. And it was just color and like texture. And I just love that the more that you continue to learn about yourself and your astrology and all of it, like you just deepen into who you are, and that what calls you at any given time can change depending on what you need, or what you're like all of a sudden being called to Black Moon Lilith or something like that, like there it's very intentional. And when you choose to say yes to that journey and to that co-creation, like you get to experience every single emotion on the spectrum and then some. And like what a gift. That's what we're here for. Like
100%.
if we're not doing that, what are you doing? And I get that that could be scary and that could get you out of your comfort zone. But again, like that's what you're supposed to be doing here on Earth. You signed up to continuously learn, you know?
Yeah, and what's two things about that? First of all, your website is gorgeous. I
Thank you.
remembered when you first showed me your website, I was like, oh my gosh, you designed this. It's beautiful. Like you have a really good design eye, by the way. It's
Thank you.
special. Yeah, it's absolutely special. Um, and then second of all, what was I going to say? I have like a minor brain fart. Um, Give me one second. I was thinking about your website, and then the second thing that I was going to share, if it comes to me, I'll come back to it. But like co-creating with our birth chart, like in your chart, oh, I remember now. In your chart, there's also like what we see as like skipped lessons. If there's like nodal squares, north
Ooh.
node, south node squares, or prominent south node placements in one's chart. And if there's certain transits that activate your nodes, it can indicate like, again, I know that everyone has spiritual beliefs, but if you do believe in such a thing as reincarnation, which is synonymous with evolutionary astrology, if
Right.
you practice evolutionary astrology, the foundation backbone of it is like reincarnation principles.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do like one without the
Without
other.
the other. Yeah.
Yeah,
My kids,
so
by the way, say they're coming back as like falcons and birds and panthers and shit.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, when it comes to like skip lessons, even that can show up in your birth chart. Like, and it can indicate, maybe in past lifetime, like this is a huge lesson that you agreed to take on. It can be really intense. It can hold a lot of like karmic weight and it can feel like spiritual baggage. So maybe there are some lifetimes where like you're kind of releasing the gas pedal on that a bit and you're taking it easy. And it can show up in your chart as a nodal square skipped lesson. It configures and manifests in different ways depending on how it's shown in your chart. But kind of what you just said, and to answer your question, yeah, your birth chart can show you a lot of different things down to like how much you exercise your free will and the soul contracts that you agreed to embark upon when you enter life.
And the spiritual baggage piece, like when you were speaking to that, I know I carried personal karma into this lifetime that I had to work through and I'm still working through versus, collective karma. But that karmic baggage in your personal experience, how much of that karmic and spiritual weight have you been carrying in this lifetime, you think, from other lifetimes? And how much has been like a this lifetime thing, if that makes sense?
That's a great question. I feel like I have brought in into this lifetime a lot of karmic baggage. I can, it shows up a lot in one of my clairs, which is like dreaming. I have recurring dreams of a past life. where it's pretty heavy and dark and involved. I see how I like die in a past
Mhm.
life and I see
I've
people around
same.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so coming into this life, like one of the biggest karmic baggages I have to kind of grapple with is fear of loss with loved ones.
Mm.
And another reason why I am going through a massive ego death this year is because I am getting lovingly kicked by Saturn, Neptune, on accepting life and death fully, accepting mortality, being confronted with like some of my worst fears with like your loved ones dying. And I know that death is a natural process, but for me, I think sometimes when you hold on to life so hard, especially with your loved ones, when it's something that you cannot control, because it comes for everyone, it's like the great equalizer. Um, you take away people's self-sovereignty, their ability to just live freely and their own personal choices. You cannot stop someone's timeline when it
Yeah.
ends. And so that is something that's my karmic baggage. Like the ultimate form of detachment and letting go is like when someone crosses over to the other side, you have to accept it. And so that's that's a huge karmic
That's
baggage.
a big one.
That's a big one. I have Taurus in the 12th house, and Taurus represents like life itself, like giving birth, and 12th house is like overcoming your fears around that. It's very much a fear house. I have Venus, Uranus, Neptune in the 8th house, which also is like a fear and loss. And
I don't know why
so,
you saying it too made me think of for your 12th house the fear of passing on things
mhm,
to children. And
exactly.
because
Yeah,
I don't I'm do you guys plan to have kids? That's really personal. You don't have to answer that actually if you don't want to,
totally.
but
I'm totally open to answer it. So my husband and I, we've had a lot of tough conversations about this. I, because I have mutability in my chart, I don't want to say never, maybe in the future. At the moment, not planning on having kids. We both have had, I've had a lot of past life trauma with motherhood. The recurring dream that I consistently had was the recurring dream of like losing a kid. Yeah. And then my husband had to kind of respect his privacy a little. So I won't go into too much detail. Like he used to be in a relationship where there was like a really rough miscarriage, like an unplanned rough miscarriage. And that really that was traumatizing for him. And so I think we were also karmically put together to kind of wrestle with this karmic baggage of like motherhood, fatherhood, these like life and death, the very archetypes of creating life and accepting death. So I do think that I can also see myself down the line adopting though. Like I keep envisioning
I could actually you
adoption.
say that I could really see that with a little yeah, see with a little girl.
Yeah. So yeah, and the funny thing is like last year when my husband and I we went to China on our honeymoon, we had to meet some of my extended family members. They're so traditional. They're like, Michelle, you have to have at least two kids. It is
One
a
has to be a boy.
yeah, exactly. You know the drill.
Yeah.
You know the drill. And I'm like, but what about adoption? Like, and they're
Yeah.
like, no, it has to be your own bloodline. I'm like, all of these, it has to be like this and it has to be like that. I'm like, all of these outdated systems. Like, everyone can live and raise children or not raise children however they see fit. It's like the world is just so big and life is filled with so many timelines and possibilities. So, I want to say, yeah, like at the moment, I know that's like not the priority of focus right now, but I'm open to adoption down the line for sure. Like I also see myself um wanting to like help build a school like abroad and for like underprivileged children. And in a way, it's kind of like giving back to the younger generation. And it might not happen on a biological level, but spiritually, energetically, I feel like it's the same.
Yeah. And getting back to your inner child too. You
Yeah,
know, I think I just thank you for being so open about this because I think it's a really beautiful conversation to have. Because again, in society, it's a system. You're a woman. You must
yeah.
want to have children. Like,
Mhm.
this is what you're supposed to do. No, no. And I know many women that, are like, no, it's not for me. And I would be interested to see if there were karmic things in their chart that make them feel that way. There are no coincidences. But I love that we're just talking about it because I want to like reduce the shame and give women permission to express what they need and what they feel. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. And I also like want to mention that like you'll see on the news headlines where everyone talks about, Japan's fertility rate is declining or Korea's fertility rate is declining. And all of those are true. And yes, everyone should have the right to be concerned. However, like I don't think we talk enough about children that gets abandoned and they're orphans. Like we don't really talk about orphans.
There are
People,
so many. There are
there's
so
so
many needy
many.
children in the world, all over the world, here in
Yeah,
our backyard in America.
yeah,
Like,
so even if we were to increase the fertility rate and like we have also a bunch of like abandoned children that have extreme mother and father wounds, what do we do about them? Like, what's the point of constantly having children if everyone comes into Earth abandoned and wounded? Like, what do we do with those that already exist that need help and support and they need a mother and father? Maybe not biological, but they do need a mother and father. And so that's always been my argument towards my extended relatives, and they'll like huff and puff and they don't really know how to respond to that. But like you kind of just have to stand in your truth. And what I love about getting older, one of the gifts that Saturn has taught me is like standing up for yourself can feel very satisfying and liberating, and it could be a good counterbalance to me wanting to please as with my Gemini South node and my Gemini rising. Yeah,
we all need to release a little bit of that people pleaser in us. But I would
absolutely.
love, this is going to come out at the end of December, as you guys know, because you're listening to it. I would love, Michelle, if you would share, I don't know, any big themes of 2026 or anything you're feeling coming through. You were so intuitive, and what I love about any of your readings or really any of your programs and experiences is yes, you use the astrology, but then
Mhm.
you use your own personal channel to really interpret and guide and share. This is a side tangent before you go into the 2026 reading. I don't know if you remember this. My book, when it before it even came out, you like channeled and predicted that you were like, you're gonna write. Should I give you? I was like, it was like something with babies and like and it's just it's gonna work. It's gonna go further than any of your work has ever gone before. And it did, and it has, and it continues to.
I
So,
love that for you.
anyway, on to 2026 reading.
So 2026, I feel like to kind of like leading up to 2026. 2026 is where a lot of people will hit their peak moment. And what I mean by that is the level of tolerance that they have to continue whatever that they're continuing with, like for familiarity's sake, sake, or uh, keeping in tune with the systems that are slowly breaking down. Like we see that with, where we're currently at in this country, but also other countries as well. A lot of leaderships are like being exposed for its corruption, and that will come to really
Ahead next
that,
year.
yeah, on a
Okay.
big level. And the reason why I say that is because Jupiter does enter Leo around June 30th. Leo is all about like leadership, shining a light and exposing things. And that is emphasized with a month later, July 27th, the nodes finally shift from Pisces and Virgo to North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo. South Node in Leo, it always exposes and releases on a huge collective level. And in Leo, the lower octaves of leadership. And so there's this huge theme in 2026 where courage, Leo's also about courage, self-sovereignty, it's something that cannot be avoided. It's like it's going on that journey, going on that long journey, not knowing what's on the other side and trusting in the process. Currently, we have Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. Cancer can talk about family, home, tending to the ancestral wounds. But on a larger scale, we also see this in the news, like immigration, migration, and on an individual level, like where is home? Like we have all of these borders where it's like uh you are like you have this passport and you're a citizen of this country, so this is what you must inhabit. These are the rules that
Right here.
boxes you
This is
in.
it.
Yeah. But if you think about it on like a without trying to like sound like an intense hippie here, so just bear with me. We're all humans and citizens and children of the earth. Who was it that told us that we must have a passport to inhabit a certain region and that in order for us to go to another region, like it must be cut off by this date and like these requirements. So there's a lot of push and pull duality with that. Like, what's the right thing to do here? What is not the right thing? And in Chinese cosmology and Chinese astrology, we are moving next year, 2026, around February, to the year of the fire horse. And so if you kind of connect that symbolically to Western astrology, it is Sagittarius. They're the travelers, they roam. And so what's fascinating is I do see a lot of people becoming restless, like they want to gallop, they want to
Mhm.
migrate. A lot of people are at least thinking about like, okay, is where I'm staying at where I'm locked in at, or do I need to take myself somewhere else that's more supportive? And so people will be making that decision. A lot of people, like during Jupiter ingress into Cancer this year, they've already made that decision with their home. So a lot of people could be like, where they're at is like, this is where I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I'm going to
It's like
build
I
my
know that this is like it. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things to take into account, like to look at the person's charts, looking at their astrocartography, like locational
I would say
astrology.
that popped into my brain while you were talking was that was
Mhm.
huge for me this year to find my astrocartography and to know that even certain times of year it would be better for me to go somewhere because of what was lighting up in my chart. And you know that like California for me is I have a Saturn line through there, I think. So
Mhm.
it was like, oh, you want a career boost? Like go to California, you know, like you want to work on your marriage and your love line, go to Bali. Like
Yeah, exactly. And I like astrocartography is a growing aspect of like just astrology in general, and it's only going to grow. And so you are going, I feel like on a collective level next year, the Gemini duality, Gemini talks about holding two contrasting points. There will be a ramp up, I'd say, of like immigration policy being enforced that's going to be stricter, and also an increasing restlessness of people wanting to
to
migrate.
yeah, to push against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are going to see that on like a huge level. And being in the eye of the storm is something that I said back in 2020 when we had the pandemic, and it's culminating to the peak of 2026. I feel like it's been a 5 year spiritual muscle that we're strengthening. How can we be in the eye of the storm and not lose focus on fulfilling our spiritual lessons and our purpose and not being afraid of the chaos? It's part of the human experience and to not be afraid. Sometimes we have to be shown intense contrasting things with the human condition to find our courage and discover our courage, which has always been within us, but maybe it's been dormant. So next year with the Chinese zodiac, with the fire horse, fire is all about the young energy, taking action energy. This year we have the yin wood snake, a lot of stillness, shedding, being rooted, being unrooted. It's less loud, it's very quiet. A lot of people have been also questioning their life existence, their sense of mortality. I can't tell, like, this is a bit heavy, but I can't tell you how many times this year I've been on a one-to-one call and the client, it's like a business reading, a business strategy reading, but they preface by saying, Michelle, before we talk about the strategy, I just want to let you know, I'm really depressed. Like, I feel like I've questioned like a lot. Like, what's my point of being here? Like, yeah, it's heavy. And I have an anonymous Reddit account where I'm always like hanging out in the astrology subreddits. In my years of being on the subreddits, I this is a year where I see so many posts, similar sentiment. Can you please look at my chart? Like I
There's
don't
something
know
going
how,
on.
yeah,
Like,
like I don't know how to keep going. Like I'm questioning my like
mm,
why am I here on Earth? Like what is the point? And
yeah.
on a Western, like if we look at Western astrology, Saturn and Neptune have been messing with our heads because it's tiptoeing between Pisces and Aries. And so if you visualize like Pisces and Aries, it's like Pisces is the end of the zodiac sign.
Mm.
It's ending, it's death, and then Aries is rebirth. It's coming out of the amniotic fluid, coming out of the womb of life. And so if we're tiptoeing this, we are being presented with a lot of illusions of like, is this how life should be? Is this how I should be going? Like continuing with my life or and Saturn being there too is a lot of restrictions. And Saturn forces us to confront our mortality. Like I just turned 33 last month, but when I was 32, Saturn was my time lord. I got my first white hair. Like, so I was like really confronted with mortality and aging. And so I like when my client tells me, I'm like I hear you and I understand you 100%. Like, do not feel afraid to tell me that you are depressed. Like, cry. It is
Mm.
okay. It is more than welcomed in this space. And so that was very eye-opening for me
I
in
just
2025.
next year, if people were feeling that way this year and next year is even more polarizing, I everyone, your mental health is worth
Your mental
investing in.
health, if there's a time to go to therapy, it is now.
To find
You
breath work, to go on
breath
women's
work.
retreats, to like do the
And
thing.
yeah, and you don't have to just stick with one thing.
Yeah.
Like the beauty of Gemini's archetype is a multitude. Have a team of tools ready to help support you in any way because one day meditation might be supported, the next day breath work might be supported. Breathwork has been amazing, and you are a beautiful, powerful meditation and breathwork facilitator. I remember when I had you on in Embody You with the workshop, and you took us through the breathwork meditation experience. It was so beautiful. So thank you for that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I think every woman this year, let's build our toolkits, ladies. If you don't already
Yes.
have the tools that you need, find women to help you. I'm here to help you. Michelle is here to help you. I would love for you to share. I was going to share all the magic of like your Substack and all these things, but I'm like, I don't know that you're doing them next year. So I
Yeah.
will let you share
Mhm.
the magic of how people can
Absolutely.
find you and work with you, because you need Michelle in your life. And even if it's just to follow her on Instagram and like get her amazing astrology insights, like
Mhm.
she's a woman to know for sure.
So I will be doing an astrology of 2026 workshop. It's about 90 minutes to 2 hours long. And I've currently, as we're talking, like this week, I've been working on a 100-page companion guidebook on
Oh yeah,
2026.
your guidebooks are always the shit, by the way. Like they're so thorough
Thank
and
you.
really well designed.
Thank you so much. I think I credit that to my sixth house stellium. I love to kind of organize and create those workbooks. So if you would like a deep dive into 2026 and how to work with it, how to be in the eye of the storm, like definitely do that workshop. Like we're doing live, but there will be replays available. It's only $27. Like I made it so accessible this year. Uh,
Run,
like
don't
it's
walk.
so accessible. I want to create accessibility for people when it comes to the year ahead because it's something that I do think we should prepare for. The Sagittarius in me will always be optimistic, but Saturn has kicked my ass this year and has also told me, Michelle, Do not spiritually bypass. Prepare people.
Yes.
They
Don't
can be,
underestimate what's gonna
yeah,
happen.
you can be cautiously optimistic, but you also have to be grounded in reality, which Saturn and Neptune will be teaching us with the conjunction next year. So that would be, you could find that on Instagram, Michelle underscore Saya. It's very simple. I'll send you the links as well so you can include that. And also, you can just go to my website, which has all of my offerings and information. I'm continuously updating it every month. It's michellesaya.com. It's very simple. Yeah.
I love it. I have loved this conversation and just getting to be with you and your energy. Is there, I don't know, any last words you want to share with anyone listening before we close out?
I have two things that come up strongly. One's more intuitive and random. So, whoever's listening to this, maybe you need to hear it. For some reason, like flower essential oils, when you feel ungrounded and destabilized, like have an essential oil that is just for those moments where maybe you're crashing out and you need to like smell the roses. Like you need to smell the roses and remember that you are part of Mother Earth. You're part of Gaia. You will never be abandoned. You'll always be supported. Like you just have to kind of tune into that energy. So we are all, yeah, the children of Mother Earth. And the second thing, and this is something that I've said time and time again, but is more poignant than ever before, be in the eye of the storm. Like be in the eye of the storm. Do not be afraid of the storm. Do not be afraid of the chaos. It is helping you rearrange your life in such a way where on the other side of it, you're going to be glad it happened. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you for sharing your energy and your wisdom. If you loved this conversation, please like, rate, subscribe, review, share with other women who are on the path of healing and spirituality. And maybe they aren't. Maybe they're in the closet too, and you want to just give them a little nudge. Please share, share, share so that we can grow the magic in the audience. Follow Michelle. And we're here every single Tuesday with amazing women from around the globe. So stay tuned. Be good to one another. I love you all. I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.